Okay, guys, sorry. Please don't forget to turn your cameras on as we start today's class. Okay, guys. So, today we're gonna be working on the reading section. We'll start with the first section of the test, the reading section, and we'll be working on it this week. So we'll be looking at its format, at the structure, at the timing, at the types of questions mostly, and the strategies to answer each type. So that's what we're gonna be doing for the reading section. Okay, guys. So as I was telling you before, the reading section is the first one that you get in the test. It's over 30, just like the other sections. And as for the timing, it lasts, depending on when you take the test, it'll last a different amount of time. So if you guys take the test before July 26th, this is the current structure of the reading section, you will have 3 or 4 articles to read. Okay, 3 or 4 passages. Does anybody know what a passage is? A reading passage? Basically, it's just a piece of writing. You know, it's an article. It's something that you have extracted from a book or from something academic. Okay, so you will have to be reading these passages and answering questions about them. Now, if you take the test before July 26th, you will have either 3 or 4 passages for you to read, and each passage contains 10 questions. So that means that you can have 30 or 40 questions total, okay, depending on the number of passages you have. Now, why am I saying 3 or 4? Why don't I just give you an exact number? The thing is, it depends. You will always, in the current format of the test, you always have an extra unscored task. Now, it's completely random where you get this extra task. You could get it in the reading or you could get it in the listening. So in case you have it in the reading, then you will have 4 passages. You know, if you don't have it in the reading, it will only be 3. So if you have 4 passages, one of them is not gonna be scored. That means that it won't be worth anything. But of course, you won't know which one it is, so you just have to answer everything. Okay, so it's a little bit complicated, but what you have to remember is that in the current TOEFL test, they always give you an extra question, an extra task, and it could go in the reading or listening. If it goes in the reading, that means that you'll have 4 passages to read. And if it goes in the listening, you'll only have 3 passages in the reading, okay? But no matter what, the questions are the same. You still have 10 questions per passage, and you still get the same amount of time. Technically, you get 18 minutes per passage, or 18 minutes per passage and the 10 questions that you have. So if you have 3 passages, you get 54 minutes. And if you have 4 passages, you get 76, depending on the number of passages you have. And another thing that is important for me to say is that you do not have separate timers, okay? So you have to be the ones controlling and measuring and organizing your time. They will never tell you to stop. Like, you can be spending 10 minutes in one question if you want. They won't tell you to stop. But of course, that's not a very wise strategy, right? Because you have to divide and distribute your time according to the number of questions. So you shouldn't be going over 18 minutes per passage. All right, that's what you guys have to remember. 18 minutes per passage, 3 or 4 passages, 10 questions each. Okay? Do you guys have any questions about this so far? No? What happens if you take the test after July 26th? It'll be easier because you only have 2 passages. Each one contains 10 questions. You still have 18 minutes per passage, and there's no unscored tests. So it's always going to be 2 if you take the test after July 26th. All right, so it's shorter. It's only going to be 36 minutes if you take it after July 26th. So no questions before we continue then? Okay, guys. There are many things we can do here, many things we can say, but the most important thing we're going to be doing in class for the reading section is looking at the types of questions. Okay, this is the best thing you can do this is the best thing that we can see in theory. We're going to see the types of questions that you get in the passages. We're going to analyze each one, and we're going to see strategies to answer each one. Okay, so we have 10 different types of questions in the reading section. We have vocabulary, we have detail, we have except, inference, function, paraphrase, reference, insert text, and summary questions. We're going to be seeing all of them. Now, this chart here shows the frequency of the questions. Does anybody know here what the word frequency means? Or no, I don't know, to what can you relate it? Like, what do you guys think frequency means? Frequency means the number of times that something is repeated, right? The number of times that something occurs. Now, in this case, the frequency of the questions is the number of, or how often these questions will come up. How often can you expect to see them in your reading section? Now, for example, vocabulary questions are the most common questions. You can get 2 to 5 of them per passage. That means out of 10 questions, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 can be vocabulary. Then you have detailed questions, which is 2 to 4 out of 10 again. So it's a lot. Except inference, function, paraphrase, reference, and insert text are not that frequent. You can get 1 or sometimes you get none per passage. In summary and category, you always have 1 of them, okay? How is that important? It's just easy to see that you have more vocabulary and detailed questions, right? So you guys should be experts in these types of questions. We're gonna see all of them, but I guess I gotta say right now that the best way to improve your vocabulary, to improve your reading comprehension skills is working on your time management, looking at the types of questions, and improving your vocabulary. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna ask you to try to improve your vocabulary, your academic vocabulary, especially for the vocabulary questions. Okay, guys, do you have any questions then before we start looking at the types of questions and doing everything?
Yes, Andrea, what kind of question is except or yeah?
Okay.
I told
Don't worry about that.
and reference.
We are gonna get to each one by one. So you will see what type of question is except and reference. We will see them one by one. Okay, any other question? Nope. Okay, guys. Now, in order to see the types of questions, we're gonna be working using an official practice from the ETS. You can find this on the ETS website. And it's a reading practice set. We're gonna be working on the first reading practice set here, which is about the rise of Teotihuacan. And we're gonna be answering the questions that we have here. Okay, we have 10 different types of questions as we said before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy and paste this into a Word document so that you guys can read it at your own pace. Okay, guys. So usually the first question that comes up when talking about the reading section is, should I read the entire text? Because remember that you have 18 minutes to do everything, right? They won't give you like a separate time for you to read. So the question is, should I actually read everything or should I just skip to the questions? Now, to be completely honest with you guys, I think that you have to find a balance. First thing, you have to know yourself and know what works better for you, because what works well for you will not always be the same to what works well for somebody else, right? People are different. But in general, my suggestion is find a balance. What happens is, if you guys want to save time and you skip reading this and you go directly to the questions and then try to do question and then you look for the answer and then you answer the question. And if you do that, then you're going to be missing some comprehension. You're going to be a little bit lost when answering the questions. And we don't want that. But on the other hand, if you waste too much time reading everything that you have here, word by word, in detail, uh, and understanding every single point and every single detail that you have here, you will waste a lot of time and then you won't have enough time to answer the questions, the 10 questions. So what you want to do is you want to create a balance. What I personally did and what I think is the best strategy is read or scan the text and go looking for the main ideas in each paragraph. That's what I did. So what would you do? You would read the title to have an idea, and then you will start reading the paragraphs, not in detail. You are not gonna be focusing on these details that nobody cares about. You will start looking for the main ideas in each paragraph. So you will be reading and be like, oh, okay, I think this is an introduction. So it talks about Teotihuacan, which was a city. Okay, that's it. Then you read the second paragraph and you start reading, and it says, how did this tremendous development take place and why did it happen in the Teotihuacan Valley? And the main factors are, so you read up until there, and then you realize, oh, okay, I think this paragraph is talking about the factors that influence the development of Teotihuacan. So that's it. That's all you need. Then you'll do the same for the third paragraph, and you'll be like, oh, okay, so paragraph is about that. So that's what you guys have to do. Just understand the main ideas in each paragraph, understand what each paragraph talks about without actually reading word by word, and forgetting about the details. Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay. In that case, I just sent you guys a link to this Word document. Please open that link, and I'm gonna give you guys 3 minutes for you to do what I just did, what I just told you to do. I want you guys to take a brief overview of the text. I want you to tell me what it is about without focusing on the details. Just scan the text, okay? I'll give you guys 3 minutes. Okay, guys. So, can you guys tell me what this text is about? What is it about? Alejandra?
Yeah. As the title says, it's about the rise of Teo Teotihuacan, and it gives some reasons why Teo Teotihuacan has risen the way it has, and it says that the main reason is because the eruption of a volcano, the volcanic eruptions that eliminated the rival cities um, that the volcans had at that time, and so it I don't know it. Sorry, I'm nervous. Um, how can I say this? It helped the volcans rises. I don't know because they didn't have a lot of competence.
Okay.
One of the reasons.
Okay, good, Alejandra, great. So I like what you said. I think it does focus mainly on like the reasons why they uh rose the way they did. And as you mentioned, one of them is the elimination of the rival city Cupilco, I think, because of the volcanic eruption. But they also mentioned a couple more, right? Like natural resources, uh, long distance trade in obsidian, and basically how everything together made sense, and everything like had an impact on everything. But yeah, I guess that's it. That's everything you guys really need. You have to have a brief understanding of what the text is about, a brief understanding of what each paragraph talks about. Like, I know that this paragraph is enlisting the different factors. I know that this one here is focusing only on the volcanic eruption. I know that this one here focuses on obsidian and natural resources. And this one here focuses on, I think, religion and trade. And I know that this one here focuses on like how each factor influenced each other positively, right? So that's everything you need. You don't need to really know all the details in order to answer the question. Okay? Do you have any questions so far? Okay, guys. So we'll start with the first type of question, which is the detailed type of question. All right, and we'll be answering question number 5 out of this set. So we're gonna take a look at detailed questions. By the way, when you're answering these questions, when you answer one question, it'll go like on pages. So it's like page 1, you have one question. Page 2, you have another question. And every time that you change questions or you move to the next one, they will show you what specific paragraph or where, in which specific paragraph the answer to the question is. You don't have to look at the entire paragraph in order to find the answer to a question. They will show you specifically which paragraph contains the answer you're looking for. Okay, so I think that's a good help as well. Now, let's start with detailed questions. They're also called factual questions. Basically, what you have to do for these questions is find information in the paragraph or in the passage that is directly mentioned, directly stated. You do not have to do much thinking here. You just have to find the information. You're looking like an investigator here. You're looking for something that is there, okay? The high frequency question, you get a lot of them, and we're gonna see how to actually answer them in a little bit. So, Pansy, could you please read the question? Only the question.
Okay, Andrea. Which of the following allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors?
Thank you, Pansy. So the first tip I'm gonna give you guys, most of the questions in the reading section, and this applies to most of the questions in the reading section, do not read the options in the beginning, okay? Just read the question. Why? Because what happens is, since you have already like read a little bit of the text, your brain works, our brains work in mysterious ways. And, you know, since you have read something already, when you read the question and then you read the options, if you find an option that is familiar, that sounds familiar, because maybe you have a few words there that you have already read, then you will be biased to choose that option. And then you will look for information that confirms what you already thought, you know? So that's something that is actually true. I think it's called confirmation bias. I don't know. But you will, if you already like are biased towards one option, then when you go back and try to find the answer, your brain will be selecting the information that proves you're right and trying to discard the information that proves you're wrong. So that's really tricky when it comes to these questions. So what we're gonna do is we just read the question. We do not read the options yet. And what you have to do in the question is look for the keywords of the question. What are they really asking about? We're gonna like rephrase the question in a way that it's more easily understood. They're asking what allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors, right? So let's rephrase it in a more simple way. What allowed Teotihuacan to be competitive, right, against its competitors, against its neighbors? What gave Teotihuacan an advantage? What gave Teotihuacan something that made them like I don't know, something that made them more competitive amongst its neighbors? That's the question, right? Now we're gonna look for some keywords. In this case, what do you guys think the keywords here are in question 5?
It is a competitive edge over its neighbors.
Yes, totally. So basically competitive edge, I'd say, Teotihuacan, right? Teotihuacan have a competitive edge, good. Now in this case, it's pretty easy because the next step after you found your keywords is to look for those keywords in the paragraph. In this case, it's quite easy because this is a quote, right? There's nowhere to get lost. So you know that these are the keywords, a competitive edge over its neighbors. You have to find those words in the text. Now the tricky part is that you won't always have the same exact words. Sometimes you will have its synonyms. That's why it's necessary to understand the meaning behind the words, not just the words. That's why you also try to rephrase the question, right? So maybe instead of having a competitive edge, you have an advantage, right? Those are still your keywords. Even though they are not exactly the same, you have synonyms. So you have to be like very careful with that. Maybe you won't have the exact same words, competitive edge or its neighbors, but you will have some synonyms like gave the city an advantage, right? That is the same. So look for the keywords or its synonyms in the paragraph. Now here's the most important thing, and this is one very useful tip. Most of the time with detailed questions, like the title says, they are going to be asking about specific details. They will be asking you about information that is given in one sentence, no more than that. So you don't actually have to read the entire paragraph. Believe me, I guess that's one of the mistakes most students make, reading everything and trying to come up with a summary. That's not what you have to do. You have to look for the answer to this specific detail. What exactly allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? So once you found the keywords, you have to start reading the sentence or the sentences close to the keywords. We're gonna read the first one that says, seems likely that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city's elite's ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors. So I don't know if you guys read, but they say gave the city a competitive edge. All of this gave the city a competitive edge. Now you have to ask yourself, is giving the city a competitive edge the same as allowing the city to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? Do you think that, is it similar enough? Because the question is what allowed the city to have a competitive edge? Is that the same as what gave the city a competitive edge? Because we have already the answer as to what gave the city a competitive edge, right? If it's similar enough, then we're gonna stick with that. And if it's not what we're looking for, we're gonna continue reading until we find the answer to what allowed the city to have a competitive edge. Okay? What do you think? Is it the same, allowing the city to have a competitive edge or giving the city? Is it close enough? Yeah, right? Probably it is. So again, we have the answer already because in the first sentence, they are telling us what gave the city a competitive edge. And what is that? Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city elite's ability to recognize their potential. That is what gave the city a competitive edge, right? Their natural resources and the city elite's ability to recognize their potential. So now you already have the answer. Now you can start reading the options and comparing it to what you have. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple of seconds. I want you to read the options and I want you to let me know what you think. Which option would you guys choose? So what do you guys think?
Letter B.
Letter B, the presence of a highly stable. Okay. Letter B, anybody else?
Maybe
Letter B.
option A.
Okay, option A. Who else?
I
I
think it's
think
letter.
letter D.
Letter D, okay. Okay, yeah.
I go for B.
You go for B as well, right? B as in both. Okay. So this is interesting. Let's summarize what we did so far. We read the question. We identify the keywords. You know, the keywords are the things that are most important, the words that are the most important in order to express the meaning of the question. The question is asking us what allowed the city to have a competitive edge. So the keyword will be competitive edge Teotihuacan, right? We look for those keywords in the text, we found them. Remember that you won't always have the same words, but you can have its synonyms. And then we start reading the sentences close to the keywords. We read the first sentence and we noticed that they said that these natural resources and the city ability to recognize their potential gave the city a competitive edge. And the question was what allowed the city to have a competitive edge? So we said that it's pretty close to that. So the answer should be that, right? Teotihuacan's natural resources and the elite's ability to recognize their potential. That's what gave the city this advantage, this edge, right? Sorry. So the final step, now that you have found the answer, you already know what gave the city a competitive edge. It was its natural resources and the ability to recognize the potential. We have to start analyzing the options. And we have to find one option that is saying the same, but probably in different words. Because unfortunately, they won't make it easy for us and copy and paste what we have in the text. There won't be an option that says Teotihuacan's natural resources along with the city elite's ability. You won't have that. What you will have instead is a paraphrase of the answer. So we gotta look for it. Let's start with option D. So option D says scarce natural resources in nearby areas such as those located in what are now the Guatemalan and Mexican highlands. So it seems okay, you know, because what gave the city a competitive edge according to option D? Their natural resources. Okay. All right. So let's analyze that option. According to our response, something that gave the city this edge was their natural resources. That's good. Now, what about the ability to recognize their potential? Does that not matter? Is it not too relevant? I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Think about it. Now, second thing, we have to consider that option D does not just say natural resources, right? Option D has more things. So let's talk about those things. The first thing they say is that these natural resources were scarce. So if you have something else that is not mentioned there, you gotta check that it's correct. Because what if it's not? What if they say natural resources such as gold and silver, right? But what if they don't say anything about gold and silver? So you gotta check that the information is actually correct, right? So they say scarce natural resources. Were these natural resources scarce to what we know? Do they say that they were scarce in the text? First,
Yes,
Where-
it does, but like other paragraphs.
where do they say that?
No, sorry, in the same paragraph, it says the hard volcanic stone was source that have been in, sorry, the hard volcanic stone was a source that had been in great demand for many years, at least since the rise of the Olmecs.
Okay, but this doesn't say that they were scarce, right? They said that there was a great demand for these natural resources. But they don't say that they were scarce. Actually, they say that the valley was rich in obsidian. You know? They say the valley.
Scarcity could be the same as lack of natural resources.
Exactly.
So there isn't the paragraph.
But they don't say that scarce means that there's not a lot of something, right? So according to option D, Teotihuacan didn't have much natural resources. But I think that it's the opposite, right? Because they say the valley, like many other places in Mexico, was rich in obsidian, right? So they were rich in this obsidian, in this natural resource. They weren't scarce, were they? And also, were they really in nearby areas? Who's located in what are now? Because they say the valley, like many other places in Mexican and Guatemalan highlands. So Mexican and Guatemalan highlands, they were rich in obsidian, right? So you cannot say that there was a lack of natural resources in those places. I don't know if you guys know what I mean. right? They were in great demand, but they don't say that they were scarce. They actually said that the valley was rich in obsidian. So Teotihuacan was rich in obsidian. That's what gave them the competitive edge over its neighbors, right? You guys know what I mean? Can you see that? Does it make sense? I kind of guess what your point is. So what you're saying, from the, like, what I understood from what you're saying they said that there was a great demand for this obsidian, right? So what you're thinking is, all right, if there was a great demand for obsidian, that means that it was a scarce thing, right? It was something that wasn't too abundant. That's why there was a great demand, because they didn't have much of this, right? Maybe that's what you're thinking. But what you guys are doing, that's called making an inference. You're assuming that this natural resource was scarce, but you don't know, right? They just say that there was a great demand for this resource. But there are many reasons why the demand of something can be high. It's not necessarily the scarcity of it, you know? So what you're doing is making an inference. You are inferring something, assuming something based on something that's said here. Actually, that's a good skill for you to have, and you will use that skill in another type of question, which is called the inference question, but not in this one. In this one, you just have to stick to what they say explicitly. So explicitly, they don't say anything about this natural resource being scarce. They actually said that they were rich in obsidian in the valley, okay? So that can make us eliminate or discard option D, because it contains inaccurate, false information, right? We don't know if they were scarce or not. We don't have enough evidence to say that. Okay? Is that okay? Do you guys agree with me? All right. So now let's go for, sorry?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So let's go for option B. Option B also sounds good because it says the presence of a highly stable elite class. So what I like about B is that it has the words elite class, right? And if we go back to our answer, we've said that what gave the city a competitive edge was their natural resources and the elite's ability to recognize their potential, right? So option B seems likely because it contains the word elite. But let's analyze the meaning. Does it really say what they're saying in the paragraph? I don't think so, because they say what gave the city a competitive edge was the presence of a highly stable elite class. How do we know if they were highly stable? Like, do they say this in the paragraph that they were highly stable? Don't say anything about that, right? They just say that the elite had the ability to recognize the potential of the natural resources. That is what they're saying here. They don't say anything about whether they had a highly stable elite class or not. And also, what about the natural resources? I think that the main part here is the natural resources, even more important than the elite. The main thing that gave the city a competitive edge, according to the paragraph, is their natural resources. So I don't know. Option B doesn't say anything about natural resources. First thing. And second thing, how do we know that they were a highly stable elite class? Does that really matter? It's not the same as what they said here, right? So we can also eliminate option B. Now, option C, I think everybody discarded that option initially. Knowledge derived from the Olmecs, so it has nothing to do. Option A is the correct option. A well-exploited and readily available commodity. And you know what's interesting about this, and we can learn a lot from this? The one that seems less likely is the actual correct choice. Because if you think about it, if you read all of the other options, all of them have words that have been used in the paragraph, right? Option D has the the word natural, resources, Guatemalan and Mexican highlands, the Olmecs, toolmaking, elite. All of the other options contain words that have been mentioned, which kind of tricks your brain into making it sound familiar for you. But none of them are the correct choice. The actual right one is option A that doesn't have one single word that was said in the paragraph. And that can happen. I am not telling you choose the one that sounds less familiar, but what I'm saying is focus on the meaning and not on the words. Because let's talk about what option A actually means. It says a well exploited, so something that was exploited correctly, exploited well, exploited in a good way, and something that was readily available, right? That was ready to use. Commodity. Does anybody know what commodity is?
Like a product?
Yeah, exactly, like a product. Another synonym of
Obsidian.
that. In this case, the commodity that they are talking about is the obsidian, right? They're natural resources. So commodity means resource. It's a synonym of the word resource. So when they say readily available, they basically mean natural, right? Something that they didn't create, that they didn't produce, that they didn't make, something that was natural, that they had from the moment they established in the valley, right? It was ready for them to use. And when they say well exploited, basically they mean to the ability that the elite had of recognizing the potential and exploiting the potential, right? So what gave the city a competitive edge? The fact that they had the natural resources, that they had the readily available commodity, and the fact that they could exploit them well, right? That they were able to recognize the potential and they did a good thing with it. So option A is the correct choice. Okay. So summarizing, read the question, look for the keywords, find the keywords in the paragraph, then read the sentences close to the keywords, find the answer in your own words or in the words from the text, and then look for the option that best paraphrases what you already found, And remember that it does not have to sound familiar, it does not have to be long, it does not have to be like a summary of everything, it just has to make sense. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about this one? Is it clear why A is the right choice? No questions? Okay, guys.
No question.
So time for you to practice. You'll be doing question 6 on the same set, which is another detailed question. By the way, I forgot to say, how do you know that you're dealing with a detailed question? You know because of what they're asking, right? They're asking for a detail. They can ask you what, why, when, where, who, what year, what date. So they ask you for specific details, right? And they won't ask you to make an inference. They won't ask you to select a choice that was not mentioned. You will learn to differentiate it from the other types, okay? But they ask you for specific details. So please take a look at this question here, do the same process. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to do this. Okay, so what do you guys think?
Letter D.
Letter
Yeah.
D. Yes.
Letter D too.
D.
Okay,
Is
first
option C?
C, okay. Why
It
C,
could be D or A.
D or A? Okay. Okay, guys, so if we apply the same process we did for the previous one, we first read a question and it says, what has recent research on obsidian tools found at Olmec sites shown? So the keywords, research on obsidian tools shown, right? They're asking us, what has this research about obsidian shown, right? What does this research prove? If we want to like rephrase it a little bit. What obsidian tools? The ones that were found at Olmec sites, right? If we want to complement with extra information. We look for the keywords in the text. Where do we have the keywords? What do you guys think? Where are the keywords in the text?
In the two last sentences.
Okay. So recent research on obsidian tools found at Olmec sites has shown that. So to be honest, this is quite simple because you have the exact same words. It's not always going to be like that, but in this case you do. They have the subject and you just have to find the object, right? The research on obsidian tools found at Olmec sites has shown that, what has it shown? It has shown that some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs originated near Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan obsidian must have been recognized. This must have been, this isn't research, right? This is like a theory. Oh, let's forget about that. What has the research shown? It's shown that some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs originated near Teotihuacan. Now that we have found the answer, we just look for an option that paraphrases that correctly. Now in this case, option A says obsidian's value was understood only when Teotihuacan became an important city. That is not what they're saying, right? Only when Teotihuacan became an important city. That's not what the research has shown, right? And also it's about logic as well. If you think about it, research on obsidian tools found at its sites is something scientific, right? We're talking about science here. This is probably like archaeological research. I don't know, but it's science, right? So I don't know if it's gonna show that when the value of obsidian was understood, right? So I don't know about that. Option C, the residents of Teotihuacan traded obsidian with the Olmecs as early as 400 BC. Maybe they mentioned that. I don't know. To be honest, you don't even have to read if they mention this or not. Because we already know the answer, right? The answer is, it has shown that some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs originated near Teotihuacan. Nowhere to the plus. Option D says some of the obsidian, okay, used by the Olmecs came from the area around Teotihuacan. Good. So some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs, obtained and used, right, is the same. Well, not the same, but it shows the same meaning, right? The Olmecs obtained the obsidian to use it, probably. So some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs originated, came from, is the same. The area around is the same as near, right? Teotihuacan. So option D is correct, of course. You know, guys, maybe you wanted to read more, maybe you went farther, but for the 12 questions, save your time. You don't really need to read the entire paragraph. Most of the time you won't have to. So, you know, try not to overread. Just read around the keywords and believe me, like 90% of the time, the answer will be there. So you don't have to be reading more than that. Okay, guys? Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions about that? No questions? You're all clear? Yes. Okay, guys. I think that's gonna be it for today's class. We'll continue tomorrow working on the other types of questions. Do you guys have any questions before we go? No? Then please don't forget today's daily survey before you go. I will be seeing you guys tomorrow.
Bye, Miss.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Andrea. Thank you.